Slimmy, Ego, Slimmy, Ego, Slimmy, Ego, Slimmy, hey, you already know what's up. What's that? Another home run. You should know the job ain't done till we hold that trophy up. Hey.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome, episode 628, Talking Friars podcast and YouTube show. Ben Fadden with you here, August 25th, 2024. The Padres, they split this series with the Mets. It sure looked like they were going to lose 3 out of 4. They were going to be 1-6 on the season against the Mets. But Jurickson Profar with a game-tying 2-run homer. I don't want that to be forgotten. And then obviously Jackson Merrill with the walk-off. I don't know. I don't know who called it. I'm seeing here on social media that I think Luis Arias called it amongst those that were in that dugout. They say he called it. I tweeted out during the pitching change or during that half inning when Edwin Diaz came into the game. I was like looking up who was coming up. A Merrill walk-off would be sick. And that's not the first time I've done it, by the way. It's just a feeling that I have. I can't explain it. It's just a feeling. It's not even, I wish I could sit here and say that it was like logical, that I sat there and was like, no, it's not going to be Crony, left versus left. Or Diaz is a righty, isn't he? Yeah, it's not. He's a righty. So it's not going to, there's no like logical thing for me there. I just had a feeling. Jackson Merrill, he's that guy. I called the Manny walk-off homer earlier this year. It's just one of those things where it's like, it would be sick. It sure feels like this is going to happen here. And by the way, before getting into this series, there's a lot to talk about. There's you, Darvish. There's Fernando. If you want to join the show, click that link pinned up at the top of the chat. But I want to start off by saying there is no Rookie of the Year race. I saw Foul Territory posted, where does Jackson Merrill rank in the NL Rookie of the Year race? And it's not a race. The race is over. Jackson Merrill is the Rookie of the Year. I don't want to have this conversation anymore. 2 big boxes that he checks. Having great stats and being a huge piece to a winning team. Checks both of those boxes. Helps the Padres win a lot of games. He's been so clutch. He's making history. Frank Robinson is on the same list as him. Just, this guy's 21. And the argument of, oh, Paul Skeens, well, he's been the biggest story in baseball, and he just came out of college. It's like Jackson Merrill, he should be in college right now. This guy is 21 doing this at the big league level. He has walk-off home runs against Mason Miller and Edwin Diaz this season. You know how nuts that is? And all of the homers that he has in the 8th inning or later to tie games or to win the game, go ahead. Like, this guy's insane. Switch positions, playing good defensively, made that great diving catch at the end of the game the other night to win that game, to seal that game. Like, this guy is legit. He is the rookie there. The race, there is no race anymore. There was a race. There is no race anymore. Done. In my opinion. I'm biased, but I think I've got a pretty good explanation that I can have on Jackson Merrill. It's not like it's, oh, super biased. It's not like I'm picking, I don't know, name a rookie. Shota Imanaga, it's not like I'm picking him, and it's like, oh, well, yeah, you're a really biased Cubs fan there. No. I got a case here. So, yeah, wow. And I was saying, you know, to the couple people next to me, the one to my right, one to my left, during this game, when it was 2-0, it's like, man, this feels like it's not 2-0. This feels way worse than 2-0, but it's only 2-0. We're still in this game. We're right there. And all it takes is you get a base runner on, you got good hitters in that lineup that can come through. And yeah, it sucked that in the 7th inning, you know, Manny hits a ball hard. He's not running hard out of the box. He sits there and waits, looks at it for like a split second there, a second, and I didn't like that. I think he should have been running. And I'm not saying he would have made it to second base because it hit right off the wall and they got it in. I think Nimmo got it in and left. But it was like, yep, okay. Then he's left on third base. I've never seen this in an inning before. The two foul balls, the one down the third base line, that was barely foul. I think it was foul looking at the replay. Then I haven't seen the replay on the first base line, but that one was super close. And the Padres can't get anything from that. And it's like, yep, probably not their day. Earlier in the game, really early, right? Bogarts, there was a runner on first. Bogarts grounded into an inning-ending double play. I think Merrill didn't come through earlier in the game on a ground ball. There was, I think it was that same inning, moved the runner over to third, but just it's not like it was with no outs, so that didn't do anything. It just felt like it was one of those games that the lead was bigger than what it was. But this team, you can never say that, yeah, the game's over. Cannot say it with this team. And there's still dummies that do say it on social media. I don't know what you're talking. You just haven't watched this team closely enough, maybe, because it doesn't matter how the game is going. It doesn't. They've come back from an 8-0 deficit this year. 2-0 is nothing. I don't care that Edwin Diaz is on the mound. It's why I was irritated the other night when, yeah, Edwin Diaz would have come into the game, but it was a 2-run game and Mike Shildt has Logan Gillespie go out there when you had other better options, in my opinion, available in that bullpen. But the good news was Suarez, those got him, Adam, Scott, like those guys in the back of the bullpen. Brian Hoeing, can we shout out Brian Hoeing, by the way? Great job that he has done for the most part. Almost, I think, every outing except one so far with the Padres. Been great. But those guys were available because of some of the situations earlier in this series. So that was good today. But especially when it's a 2-0 game. And for those that said, oh, game's over or game, like, are you looking at the situation? Do you see that, yeah, Martin Perez didn't go long. Yeah, that 4-batter stretch was really painful to watch. Homer by JD Martinez, and then 3 consecutive walks. But do you realize that Mike Shildt is clearly trying to win this game because it's only 2-0. It's the 4th inning, and he has Brian Hoeing in the game. If he was punting that game, then it would be Backer. How do you say his name? Botcher? I don't know. Sorry. Probably just botched your name, but my bad. Lake Bacher, I think. Could have had him go in the game. Could have had Sean Reynolds. Could have had someone else go into that game or just left Martin Perez out there. But no, they were trying to win this game. They go to, or Shildt, I should say, goes to Brian Hoeing, goes to Jeremiah Estrada in the 5th inning, right? I think the 5th or 6th inning of this game. 6th inning. 6th inning, he goes to Jeremiah Estrada. And then you have Adam, Scott, and then Suarez pitching in a tie game. You're going for it. So I don't think that any Padres fan should be giving up in any game this season. I don't care if it doesn't look great, because it didn't look great. I mean, Jose Quintana comes in here and pitches like, Kershaw in his prime. 6 1/3, no earned runs, but it doesn't matter. It's a 9-inning baseball game. Would we like to have a 7-0 lead? Of course. But we've got Jackson Merrill on this team. We've got Jurickson Profar on this team. Profar, by the way, my goodness. His trot around the bases is incredible. Today's was incredible. Stopping before he even gets to first base to pump up his dugout. And then jogs around. What's that dance called? I'm not big into dances, so I think it's gritty. Does that. That's his new celebration going into home. But him pumping up the crowd, getting his hands up there after touching home plate. Man, he is great getting him and Merrill are the two guys that are great at pumping up the home crowd. And it was, if you remember, I posted a video, you'll see it from my view of where I was during that walk-off. Him and Merrill, Profar and Merrill, after the walk-off, were pumping up the crowd still. They were so pumped up behind home plate going into the Padre dugout there. You could just see how much they love playing for the Padres, how much they love playing in front of this Petco Park crowd. And Padres fans that were there, Padres fans all season long have brought it. Yeah, for those that are at the game, you will probably say that sometimes it feels dead. It feels really quiet. But I mean, I could go around to a lot of ballparks, pretty much every ballpark in baseball, in the situation earlier today where Quintana was pitching well. Padres weren't doing really anything. They were wasting the opportunities, or they weren't coming through. They were getting some bad breaks. You're not going to have a super pumped up crowd, maybe unless it's the postseason, but you're not going to get fans clapping all the time in that situation. But the fans stay, of the sellout crowd, and it was hot, so maybe some were in the concourse. Pretty much everyone stayed through that game today. It wasn't people flooding out, oh, game's over, it's 2-0, offense hasn't scored a run yet through 7 innings. No, that's not what was happening. We believe, at least speaking for myself, and a lot of Padres fans, we believe in this team. This team has given us a lot of reasons to believe in this team. Another moment that I loved, by the way, was Mike, and this was after I was done recording, but Merrill and Schilt. Schilt, I believe, picked up, or no. It was Merrill that picked up Schilt. Hopefully the TV broadcast caught that, because that was amazing. Merrill picking up Mike Schilt in celebration. And then obviously Merrill drops the LFGSD on scan in the post-game interview. It sucked that the Petco audio wasn't that great, or else the crowd would have been able to hear it better. But yeah, another one of those best games of the year. We've had so many of those this year, whether that was today, whether that was the Manny walk-off with the Profar game-tying home run, whether that was the Profar walk-off, whether that was the Merrill walk-off against Mason Miller. I know that was a day game. There was the Higgy walk-off, the Crony walk-off. There's a lot of games here. The Dylan Cease no-hitter. I mean, I could keep going down the list. Luis Ariz, welcome to San Diego, the walk-off that he had against the Dodgers. Or the Mr. Relevant game on Sunday Night Baseball where Profar has the ball off the wall. Merrill coming up, the first big moment we were like, yep, he is that guy. Early in the season, I think in April at Dodger Stadium, he gets that go-ahead hit in, I think, the 8th inning, I want to say, through the 5-5 hole. Like, at Dodger Stadium as a rookie like that, and you come through, the games in Boston with those homers. There's a bunch of moments that we could point to for this Padres team. So that season highlight video at the end of this year, it's going to be a long one, Padres fans, but I assure you there will be a lot of great moments. It will not be wasted with stuff that weren't like, oh, great moments. I mean, there's a lot of great moments from this season that deserve to be watched again. Don's call, I haven't heard Jesse's, but Don was amazing, and I'll play it for you right here, actually. But what's a better duo? Don and Big Moments on the call.
High drive, deep right field. Merrill, madness! Walk off at Petco. Padres win it 3-2.
That's the crowd, by the way. And Merrill's still rounding, going into home. Edwin Diaz with his head down, going into the dugout. Man, that's a great view. I'm just watching it. Petco is packed from that field view there. Absolutely packed. And then Merrill skipping around, him and Profar throwing their hands up. Let's go. I think they showed the moment. Did they show it? Please show it. Yep. Merrill picking up Schilt. That was amazing. It wasn't a great angle of it, but they showed it. I'm at this, like, I'm enjoying these regular season moments, but I'm at this point where I'm like, can't we just get to the freaking postseason? This team's going to make the postseason. I want these moments times 10 at Petco when it matters the most. All these games matter, of course, because you're trying to, get the best postseason positioning and make it to the postseason, most importantly. But I mean, we knew how those that were at Petco Park, like I was in 2022, Game 4 of the division series, when it was like that in those huge moments like that. Or even the Phillies NLCS where Drury and Bell hit those homers, Manny with the homer late for, some more insurance. Like Grish with the homer in game 3 of the wild card series, right? It is just nuts. And it was a great atmosphere today. I'm not going to go as far like the walk-off. It was probably like the loudest where I would go to, like, it didn't feel quite like a playoff game there at the end, but it was as close as you could get. I've had moments at Petco this year where it was like, no, that felt like a playoff game. That atmosphere, the crowd, it did feel like a playoff game. Now, watching the replay there visually, it did look like a playoff game. I don't know. For me, it's not something I can quantify. It's just a feeling thing. It was close today. But again, this is a regular season game. This was another sellout, I believe, I think. And yeah, Padres fans keep coming out. You guys are the best. And that's really what I got to say. Padres, by the way, went 0 for 4 with runners in scoring position today, and they win. Profar and Merrill, 2 huge homers. Mason McCoy, by the way, shout out to him. He got on base before Jurickson and Profar hit that game-tying homer. And I don't want Profar to go unnoticed here in this moment. Same thing with the Manny walk-off game where Profar tied it up. Because Profar's had walk-offs, right? He's had big moments. But it's going to be easy, I think, for people to be like, oh, yeah, that was the Merrill walk-off game. And I understand it because Merrill, he's the one that hit the walk-off. I get it. But Profar's, it was what, a 21-degree launch angle? That ball was on a line. And obviously the Padres, if that didn't happen, then the Merrill homer would have been what? It would have made it a 2-1 game, JD Martinez, by the way, that homer that he hit in the top of the 4th, I haven't watched the replay of it. I'm watching it right now. Yeah, I thought it was more low and out than what it was, but whenever he came up for like the Padres, and he didn't really come up in like legit rumors, but I think it was just fans tossing around on social media. He has always been an appealing name to me because he's one of those just hitters. And you know what I mean by that. Hitters in the league. You think of Luis Ariz. You think of, or at least I do, I think of Mike Trout when he's healthy. Obviously, Jackson Merrill, Freddie Freeman, I think are 2 names that we got to bring up. JD Martinez is one of those, like just hitters. If they hit a home run, that's good. That's great. That's cool. Not Freeman, obviously, but you get my point. They're not trying to hit homers. They just have a good approach. They're good baseball players. They're good hitters. So wasn't super surprised to see JD have that homer. Vientos, I think that was probably middle if I had to guess. I haven't seen the replay yet, but I would guess that was middle or high fastball. I think that got taken out. But yeah, what a win! What a moment! It feels like, and I get it. Yeah, it was high up by Jason Adam. Adams got nasty stuff. I don't really know why he went to that fastball there, but what was I going to say? These games, like, yeah, they didn't go long. Martin Perez didn't go long. It didn't feel like it was the Padres' day, but you can never fully give up on this Padres team. And that's the identity of championship teams. Those special teams, that fan base probably learns to not give up on that team from that season that they're watching because they can tell, oh, something pretty special is happening here at some point in the season. May not be consistently for 6 months, but at some point they're like, all right, yeah, this team, it's different than other teams that I've watched around the league. And this Padres team falls into that category. Also, what I was going to say was, yeah, the Padres split this series, but it feels like right now that they won the series because if the Padres would have lost, then the Mets gained 2 games on the Padres out of these 4 in this 4-game series. And instead, they don't gain any. And the Padres, they could have like ended the Mets, at least the Mets catching the Padres with like a sweep. taking 3 out of 4 would have been great as well. But the Mets are still 5.5 games back of the Padres. Padres, by the way, they're 3 clear of the Mets, I think. Yeah, 3 clear of the Mets, 5.5 up on the Mets, or excuse me, 3 clear on the Braves, 5.5 up on the Mets. They're like 8 up on the Giants. The Giants are the second team outside of the wild card picture. The Mets are the first. So as of now, the Padres would be going to Arizona in a wild card series. I mean, I'll take my chances with any team in baseball. Any team in that National League right now, I'm taking my chances with. I believe in this team. And the Padres, they're getting Darvish back at some point. They're getting Tatis back next month. That's what he says. And you add those guys to a rotation of Musgrove, who what a freaking start he had on Friday night, right? Musgrove and Cease and King. And I don't have to add Martin Perez. I don't have to put Matt Waldron in there because it's the postseason. You shorten that rotation. So yeah, it's going to be exciting. Obviously, the offense with Manny playing like Manny for the most part. Bogarts' average has been great since coming off the IL. Obviously, Jackson Merrill. Obviously, Jurickson Profar. I hope Higgy is catching every postseason game, by the way. Can't be for me. It's just not doing it. I don't want to go as far to say that he is lazy because I think he has been at some points this year, but I'm not going to label him as a lazy catcher just flat out. But just Higgy, I trust more. I'll just say that. I trust Higgy more. He has postseason experience. Remember Campy? He didn't. No. That was Alfaro, right? That didn't play at all in 22. It was Nola. That's what they should do with Higgy. Just play him every game. It's the playoffs, you know? This is what you live for. There's the adrenaline. Yeah, you're tired. I've been through days where I'm tired, but I just love what I do so much that you can find the want, the desire, and you can keep going for as long as you need to, just because you enjoy it. So I'm not worried really about that like catcher fatigue come postseason time. It seems like Higgy is good with the pitching staff, and I don't have the stats in front of me, but Campy makes more mistakes than Higgy. He has to, right? He makes more mistakes. So that's just one thought that I had while watching this Padres game. I see Parker wants to join the show though, so I'll put him on right here. What's up, Parker? How's it going, man?
How's it going?
Doing good.
Yeah. So I was gonna first start off with a much needed win. Changed a lot of things today. It's crazy how one win can change a lot.
It just feels, yeah. It, like I said, it. I'm not forgetting that they only split the series, but they didn't lose the series either, and I think that's important to recognize. They're in a postseason spot, not just a postseason spot, but they're in the second wild card spot. So yeah, things are trending in the right direction.
Yeah, I was for me it was at least split. For me, I was looking at the pitching matchups and the two games that I thought we would definitely win, we lost actually with King and Cecil on the mound. It wasn't like a definite, but the ones I was more confident in. And then I didn't realize until after, it's just like a funny stat, but like every game that Martin Perez has been on the mound, we actually ended up winning.
Yeah,
Because he's been on the mound 5 times for us and we've won all those games. So I just thought that was a funny stat. But I was pretty confident with the pitching matchups. I felt like we had the better pitcher, and mostly throughout the whole series, I felt like we had the better pitcher. And, I think with splitting, it's fine. Arizona's playing good, can't control that. People that say that the division is out of reach, I would lean more to it's going to be really hard. But there's a series coming up with the Dodgers versus the Diamondbacks, and I think not the next series for the Dodgers, but the series after that, which could really help us either way. Whoever loses could really help us. So I'm not really focusing on that mostly right now. I'm just focusing on doing what we can do and control how we win games.
yeah, that's all the Padres can do anyway. And the division thing, like I jumped into that because I wasn't a believer in them winning the division. I was like, I hate the Dodgers, but I respect what they've been able to do, and so I'm going to give it to them. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt in the division. Um, Then they got in the 2.5, 3 game range, and I was like, no, it's there. Padres can do it. Now, when it's back to what, like 4 or 5 games,
4.5, I think, right now.
yeah,
But
that's where I'm like, let's get it back to 2, 3 games. And I don't want it to be 2, 3 games, like maybe 2 going into the last week. Like they can do that, but I'd like it to be really like 2, 1 going into that last week, not 4 or 4.5. Because then it's like you're really asking for everything to go your way. But again, I think it's important to remind everyone that winning the division gets you nothing. Um, does it win you a World Series? No. Does that? Sure, there's the home field advantage, and that would be great, obviously. But it doesn't get you anything in the postseason. It doesn't get you a free postseason win. You got to go earn it either way. So get into the postseason, play good baseball, be healthy. That's really what I'm looking at.
yeah, and I know, like, I don't really love talking about it just because I feel like everything's gonna play itself out. No matter if we talk about it or not, it's just cool to talk about. But with Jackson Merrill in the Rookie of the Year race, I think if Paul Skeens was like a not such a big name, like people knew about Paul Skeens before he came to the league, right? No one really, like, it wasn't like Jackson Merrill had all this hype behind him coming up into the league, like Paul Skeens.
Nationally, yeah.
Yeah, like nationally. And so I think if his name wasn't as big, I think no one's really even. I mean, he definitely deserves it. I think he deserves the consideration. So like, I think Jackson Merrill should win, obviously, but I think it's they're both good. So like, to be honest, like they both, in my opinion, deserve it. But I think it should be clear that Jackson Merrill should win. I think it's hard to compare an 120 game player to 15 games played so far.
And in these awards, is there even a criteria given for this? Like,
Yeah,
what's the Rookie of the Year criteria? What's the MVP criteria? I feel like it's 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 up to the writers to decide. Okay, am I going to vote for the most valuable rookie? Am I going to vote for the guy that has the most impressive standout stats, that had the most hype going into the year? Like, am I going to reward Paul Skeens, even though, I mean, he couldn't control like him getting shut down eventually this year, because I feel like that's coming. Should I reward Jackson Merrill for being on a better team than Paul Skeens? Like, what is the criteria here? We're biased as Padres fans, but like, I don't know. I'd rather go with the guy that is playing every day, the guy that is coming up in clutch moments. It's not like he has great stats and then the ninth inning, eighth inning rolls around and he sucks. He turns it on. You know, he lives for these moments, and so I would give him the edge there. Um, I like, Don brought it up on the broadcast a few weeks ago, I think, about having it be a pitcher rookie of the year, have it be a position player rookie of the year, because us comparing and talking about Skeens versus Merrill, I've gotten tired of it, to be honest, because it doesn't make sense to be comparing a pitcher to a position player. A starting pitcher, by the way, that's not on a good team versus a position player that's on a good team. It's just it's mentally exhausting a little bit, and I it's stupid to be comparing.
Yeah, and some players that I'm actually excited for is I'm excited for, but also a little nervous for Ha-Sung Kim because I want him to, because he was actually, I think I looked at it, he was batting insane the last, like, I think it was like the last 15 days that I look at in a splits, that how good he was batting in the last 15 days before he got injured. I
Yeah.
think it had to be close to 400 or something like that. He was hitting really well, and I'm excited for him to come back. Obviously, Tatis and Darvish. But before I get back to like the players, I'm kind of worried about. But who is going to start tomorrow? Do we know?
I thought I saw Jeff Sanders put it out. I'll look on the MLB app though, because I
Okay.
can't find it yet on Twitter. It's still TBD for us, and then they've got, I think, Kyle Gibson.
Yeah.
Tuesday, everything's TBD, but Michaelis is Tuesday for the Cardinals. Palante is Wednesday, and Sonny Gray is Thursday morning our time.
Yeah.
But yeah, Mike Schultz returned to St. Louis coming up. St. Louis is literally at 500.
Yeah.
Um, they're not making the postseason.
Yeah. Which is great for me because I'm in Missouri, so now when I have school in the morning, I won't have to stay up as late because for you guys, it'd be like I think 4:45. I think his first game's at like 6:40, but
Yeah,
normally in San Diego it's at 8:40.
yeah,
Normally the normal games. So for me, but 6:40 for you guys. So that'll be nice. But yeah, with our rotation, I'm like stoked about like Musgrove. Like has been amazing. I know it's 3 starts. He could get exploded the next start, but he's looked really good. He's a little shaky, but still when you classify Dylan Cease outing as a little shaky, it's still not awful. So I'm just not mad about that. Michael King last night, I know it was 5 runs, but it was 1 earned run. It really should be no earned runs if the umpire calls some balls a strike. But Martin Perez as the 5th guy, pretty happy with where we're at there.
yeah.
And then the only people that I'm really like, I want to see kind of like start get it going is just I know Xander Bogaerts is like he's like statistically he's playing really well, but I just like when I'm watching it like watching the game, I just don't see it as much. I just wish he could. I know he's come back from injury, but just more pop in his bat. But I understand where he's at with when Tatis and Kim come back. Maybe you can slide him down more in the lineup instead of having him bat 3. But like, he is doing his job, and then Jake Cronenworth is the only other guy that I'm kind of starting to get a little more nervous about.
Yeah, and he may be one of those guys that when the postseason comes around, it's just different because of the 22 experience that we had with him. But yeah, with Crony, I think Kevin AC put it in his newsletter about him against lefties this year. It's not very good. Solano, he is going to get more playing time. Um, Either it's going to be a Rise that sits or it's going to be Cronenworth that sits. Manny DH today, so that puts Solano at third anyway. But yeah, Solano, he deserves to be hitting when a lefty is on the mound. And even when a righty's on the mound, sometimes he may hit as well. But I'm not going to sit here and be like Solano is going to be in the lineup every day because they're going to have Cronenworth play and they're going to have Luis Ariz play. They didn't acquire Luis Ariz to sit him um,
Mm-hmm.
every time against lefties either. So yeah, I like where they're at for sure.
What's your thoughts on Bogey right now? Just keep doing what he's doing, and
Yeah, my bad.
no, you're
Yeah,
good.
Bogarts. Yeah, I. It's a quiet, right? It's a quiet 3 whatever since coming off the IL, and I get that. And the big contract, it's like, yeah, we got to see more power from him. But Xander, if you go look at, I think it was his last year with the Red Sox, didn't he hit like 15 home runs? It wasn't a ton of home runs, but he still hit over 300. And I'm sorry, but I'm taking that guy still. I'm not going to complain too much about that. Manny can hit homers. Tatis can hit homers when he comes back. Merrill can get into some. Profar can get into some. Crony's gotten into some. Like, there are guys. I mean, Higgy, shoot, play the postseason games at Petco. He can use that Western Metal building. So, yeah, you'd like to see Bogarts get into balls that like aren't at Coors Field. I think that was his last homer, unless I'm forgetting one that he crushed that ball. But like, if he keeps hitting for average, I'm not going to complain too much. The Padres, they're winning a lot of. They're winning at a very high rate right now. Um, yeah, that's what I've got on that.
Yeah, I was just curious. So Darvish he went back to the IL. So he since he was already on the IL for a moment in time and then he got taken off the IL, does he now have to sit 15 games or no? Since he was already on it.
He probably will anyway, but I don't think he does because, yeah, I mean, now that you bring it up, yeah, I don't know the answer to that because I don't want to sit here and be like, this is the answer, but I don't think that he would have to, because he was on the IL for 15 already,
Mm-hmm.
and the Padres never put him on the 60-day. He was just on the other list, and that was Darvish's choice, and he didn't get paid. So I don't think there should be a limit. But I think if I'm wrong, it would be because, well, Major League Baseball is interpreting it as he was off the IL while he was away, and the Padres put him back on the IL. It's a new, it just resets his time on the IL. It's not a continuing IL stint. So that's why I would say maybe it is, yeah, 15. But even if it is, I don't think he's going to come back within 15 days. Um, he still has to ramp up. He still has to make rehab starts. I don't know if it's going to be one rehab start or two. Maybe it's one rehab and it's a live BP in front of other Padres hitters at Petco Park with everyone there. Today, by the way, the update there for everyone, Darvish, he did throw a live BP. I forget how many pitches. I think it was around 50 that he threw. So that's encouraging. And I would think that that means that he could be back in a couple of weeks, which is around the same time I hope that Tatis gets back. But yeah, I'm not so sure that the 15-day is even going to matter, to be honest, at this point. Because the rotation, it's in a fine spot without Darvish. You want him back, but you don't want to force something. You don't want to do it too quick because you want him for the postseason. Having a fresh Darvish for the postseason could end up being huge for this Padres team.
Yeah, isn't it coming up soon where we add 2 players to the roster?
September, I think. Yeah, 27 or no, 28. Yeah, I think 28 is what it expands to. I think it's one position player and one pitcher. I don't think it's 2 of one.
What do you think that will look like, or who do you think will bring up? Right, so like
Probably Wandy. Remember, Wandy's rehabbing.
Yep.
So I wouldn't be surprised if it's Wandy, or maybe it's Alec Jacob if they want Wandy to just keep ILing. And then the position player, what they do is Zokar, because Tatis comes back.
Johnson
and
goes
Bryce,
down,
yes, because you want Peralta still. Have Johnson go bring a Zokar up, maybe,
and
or
then
they stick with Bryce Johnson and you just add Tatis back on. Yeah, I don't know.
wait,
That would be my initial guess.
will they when they bring up Kim back? Because I'm guessing
Oh
Kim,
yeah.
when they bring Kim up back, because I don't think he's going to sit
Well, then
much
McCoy
games
would
after
go
the
down.
Yeah,
They're not taking weight off the roster. They still value him. He's
I-
one of
I-
those where, like, I thought he was going to be starting. Then McCoy has a good game, and then he keeps starting. And so Wade's the backup to McCoy, but McCoy's not going to be on the roster when Kim comes back. I feel like because
he's done a
Wade
good
just
job.
knows
Yeah.
his role. Wade is a good bench utility guy. And so they're just not going to mess with that. It's a lefty, has speed. It's a major league vet. He's played in postseasons, I believe. Had with the Yankees. So at least been a part of that environment. So I see that happening.
Yeah,
McCoy down.
no, he's done a good job for us. I like the kid. It seems like not a bad player, but yeah, I'm hoping because I was curious if they're going to bring up like earlier, not now, for how well Sean Reynolds is doing. I was curious if they're going to bring Alec Jacob up and put Reynolds back down, but Reynolds has been amazing. I mean, his last pitch on Friday was 100 miles per hour. Just love the energy from him. So I'm guessing I don't know how to pronounce the kid's name that got brought up today. Is it
Bacher, I think. Yeah, I don't know.
My guess is he probably won't be on the roster, and I was curious if they go with Wandy, or I'm guessing Reynolds is going to stay if they bring up Alec Jacob. So, yeah. I mean, and Hoeing has been great. I remember talking to you about it with the trade. We were like, oh, he's just a throw-in piece. He might be on the rotation because he came in with like a 2.7 something ERA, but with 30 innings pitched.
The Marlins were using him. I don't know what Skip was doing there. I feel like they were using him wrong. I guess he was a long man with the Marlins. I mean, if you pitched him in some better games, maybe he would have been a part. He would have been the guy in another trade, not Hoeing and Tanner Scott. I mean, yeah. I know the Padres gave up a good amount in that deal, but you're trying to win right now. You get Tanner Scott to add to that bullpen, and that AJ knowing what he was doing with Brian Hoeing.
We have him for so many years.
Yeah, you have him control for him as well. Like, yeah, it's just another thing on AJ's resume for this year. What a year is he having? Huh?
Those two guys, Hoeing and Adam, have been outstanding for us, and Scott's been really good. He's had a couple shaky starts, that's why I didn't say outstanding. But Hoeing and Adam, I think they have close to 14 innings pitched, or around the same, one earned run from both of them.
Yeah,
great stuff. And Martin Perez, great.
Yeah, for the most part. Yeah, I mean, and he's the 5-starter. It's not like he's coming in here as the Corbin Burns expectations or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Parker, thanks so much, man. Have a good one.
All right. See ya.
All right. Getting back to the series here. So, obviously, electric, fun win, especially the ending, obviously, today. Yesterday, though, Padres lost 7-1, and yeah, it was frustrating. It was, I don't know how else to say it. Just who made more mistakes, Padres or Mets? Some things didn't go the Padres' way, like the ball that hit off the third base bag, and Manny couldn't do anything about it. But then Manny made a mistake, got to catch that ball. And then there's the hit by pitch, and then there's the bad pitch to Lindor. And Lindor's a good hitter. He's going to hit it out of the yard. There's going to be a lot of major leaguers that's going to hit that pitch that Michael King threw out of the yard. So, and yeah, that was really that for that game. I mean, there's not a whole lot for me to talk about in this game unless there's something that someone else brings up that is interesting that I should hit on. Michael King, that first run, he literally jammed Pete Alonso. It was a broken bat, and the ball hits off the bag, and Manny can't do anything about it. Sucks. But 7 left on base, 1 for 5 with runners in scoring position. Mets had around the same amount of opportunities with runners in scoring position, but they came through more times. They left fewer guys on base. David Peterson went 7 1/3, 1 earned run. They got a lot of length these last couple of games. The Mets did out of their starters. So for the Padres to take one of the 2 games, that's pretty good when you look at it that way. Game 2 of this series, Padres won 7-0. I mean, they were just trading blowout wins here. Luis Arraez right out of the gate, hitting that fastball up, out. Then Higgy with the homer. Crony RBI single. Higgy with the double. Arraez RBI single. Was 6-0 when Manny came through with a single for more insurance. I think the story of the game, though, was Joe Musgrove. Him coming back. It's like his, 3rd start since coming off the IL. So for him to do what he did, he's coming off of an elbow injury. 3rd start back. He's on a pitch limit, by the way. He got through the Mets in 7 innings and gave up 1 hit, 75 pitches on a pitch limit, and dominates the Mets like that. That's his most impressive outing probably of the season, unless I'm just having recency bias here. That was incredible. 1 hit, no walks, 9 punch-outs. Obviously, that play that he made between the mound and first base, he didn't know if Crony was going to go get the ball, and then he was going to have to go cover the bag. Crony then is at the bag, so he's like, all right, I got to go get this. Slides, glove flip to first base. And I love Jesse's call. I think Jesse's call was great. It was one of the best plays you're ever going to see, probably from a pitcher. And I thought that's got to be Musgrove's best that he's made. But then that was definitely recency bias as right when I watched that play. Because then I went back and Kevin Acey, I think, tweeted out the next morning the video against Freeman of the Guardians last year, where that ball was down the 3rd baseline and Musgrove barehanded it as he's going towards the Cleveland dugout, the visitors' dugout at Petco, throws it to first in time for the out to Crony. I'm probably picking that one over the Musgrove one, just because with the Musgrove one, the play is I know the ball was behind him when his back was to home plate when he's sliding there, but he's by the bag. I think there's a better sense of, okay, what do I need to do here to get this done? Where with the Guardians play, he is nowhere near first base. He has to bend down, so he's off balance already. Then he can't stop his momentum because then you're not going to make the play because that kills time there. He has to sling it over to first base. I don't know. That's a ridiculously hard play. Both of them are. I probably give the Guardians play the nudge there. But yeah, Joe, man, he has made some great plays as a starter for the Padres. He totally has. He's an athlete. That's what he is. Athlete. Not all pitchers are athletes. Some of the pitchers that we've seen, but Joe falls into the athlete category, no doubt about that. So a 7-0 win. It was great. Again, like Higgy just using that Western Metal building, not afraid to use it. Luis Arraez, I don't think we're gonna be counting on him to be hitting homers in the postseason, but Luis Arraez, he's one of those guys. I feel like Crony and Arraez, those are guys that you want up at the plate in the postseason. And maybe I'm being biased because it was that one big at bat from Crony in Game 4. But if we remember, it was more than one big at bat. He hit a home run at Dodger Stadium earlier in that series to right. Let's remember that. I think that was game 2 before the Padres came back home at Petco for 3 and 4. Lost Game 1, won all 3 of those games after that. And Crony, it was not just the Game 4 hit, but that's a big part of it, obviously. And then Luis Arraez, we know what at bats he puts together. He's not trying to strike out, or obviously everyone's not trying to strike out, but I should put it this way: he cares if he strikes out or not. There's some guys that you're not trying to strike out. Obviously, you're trying to put the ball in play. You're trying to do damage. But if you strike out, I mean, that's who you are. Stanton, of course, he'll be pissed when he strikes out, but we know what type of hitter he is. Joey Gallo, he obviously gets thrown in there all the time. There's guys like that. With Luis Arraez, he is pissed off he's pissed off when he fouls a ball straight back, and he's like, "Man, I got to put that ball in play. I'm on that." You know, like he's a good at bat. He's someone I want up. We saw it against the Dodgers earlier this season with the walk off, the welcome to San Diego, Luis Arraez moment. So yeah. And then you have Solano as another option, and you obviously have Manny at third. Like the depth is such a strong suit for this Padres team this season. I hate bringing up last year again, but like last year it was Nelson Cruz, who's like 40. What was he? 44? I don't know. More probably like 40, but he was old. And then you had Matt Carpenter given a 2-year deal. And where is Matt Carpenter now? Is he with the Cardinals? I think he's with the Cardinals now. Could be wrong. Anyway, you had those two guys. That was the depth that you had at the beginning of the year in like first base DH there. But now you have Solano. When Tatis comes back, you're going to have David Peralta. Solano and Peralta could be on the bench. And if one of them is not, you have maybe Luis Arraez on the bench. Like today, for example, they were able to insert Luis Arraez wherever they wanted. Like that is a luxury to have. That would be the same with Solano in an at bat. So I'm loving it. AJ Preller, what a freaking year he has had, huh? And then game 1 of this series, Padres they lost it 8-3. Dylan Cease, 6 1/3, gave up 9 hits, only walked 1, but yeah, could have definitely had a better outing. But I think in his words, he battled through this outing, still being able to work into the 7th inning, hoeing an inning and 2/3, no earned runs there. It was the Padres with the chances that they had. 2 for 9 with runners in scoring position, 9 guys left on base. They're 3, 4, and 5 hitters and 6. Crony, Manny, Bogey, and Merrill combined to go 0 for 15 in this game. Yeah, not going to get it done. And none of the top 6 scored a run in this game. The bottom 3 were the guys that ended up scoring in this game. So Mark Vientos with an RBI double. There was the pass ball by Campy. Jeff McNeil sink. Good play by McCoy, but just wasn't able to. You can't control that. Did his best. Wasn't able to beat the runner. Then 3-1 game on the ground out. Top of the 9th. That was the game where Logan Gillespie comes in that 2-run game, and then it ends up being a 7-run game by the end of that half inning. And with this it would be one thing if it was last year where you had a player like Juan Soto admitting to the team quitting when they get down in games. This year, it's not that. It's the opposite. They dig deep, and they're like, no, we're going to go win this game. We're going to make people cry on the other side. Maybe not literally, but you know what I'm saying. We're going to rip that other team's hearts out and go win this game. And so I did not agree with Logan Gillespie going in there and pitching in that game. I get it. You're in the middle of an 18-day stretch. And I think it's like 22 and 23 or 23 and 24, or 20, something like that. They're playing a lot of games with like one day off. Okay. I get it. But Suarez, Matsui, I want to say, who else? I think Jason Adam, maybe Morhone. Guys were available to pitch other than Logan, like better options that Chilt trusts more than Logan Gillespie. If you put a lie detector test on him, those guys were available over Gillespie. And Padres, and it's a collective decision probably, but Chilt's the head guy. He chose to go the Logan Gillespie route. And I didn't like waving the white flag there because now it's a 7-run game. I get it. The Padres came down from 8-0 against the Cubs late. What was it? What inning was that? It was the 7th or 8th inning when that rally really started there with the Crony homer. I get it. But when it's the 9th inning like that and the game was so close, that's a huge gut punch to be down that much. And then the Mets can fool around. Literally, they had some no-name guy in there that I'd never heard of, comes into the game, he struggles, and they keep him out there because of how big of a lead they had. So you didn't have them. They still got Edwin Diaz today, thanks to Jackson. But I would have loved to have at least the silver lining of, hey, at least we made them use Edwin Diaz in this game, and that didn't happen. So that sucked. But hey, you take 2 out of 4, you split this series, you keep the gap with you and the Mets, which is what matters because you're the second. There's a third team obviously in there. Mets are 4 right now. One in the wild card rankings. They're just outside the wild card picture. Stay ahead of the Mets, and they did that. Mets didn't gain anything on them, so I'll take it. You want 3 out of 4, but I'll take it. Was there anything I wanted to hit on here before getting to the chat? And I see Carter's in the room here, so hold on one second. Darvish came back. I already made a video on this, I think. Yeah. But Darvish, for the podcast audience or anyone that missed it, Darvish came back on Friday. It's good that he is back. He threw in front of Ruben Niebla. He had a live beep today before the Padres game, a couple hours before the game. He had that live BP. Padres had some guys come in. I think Jack Costello from USD was one of those guys that they recently drafted. So Darvish got some work in, and he's on his way back. What I'm most happy about is he is good enough to come back. So, like, personally, his situation, don't know if it's resolved, but he is in a good place mentally where he's like, I can come back. So, most importantly, I'm happy that that's what happened there, his situation. And obviously, it's great to have Darvish back because now you don't have the pressure on Matt Walton. Now you don't have the pressure, at least as of now, on Martin Perez. Might come at some point, but postseason comes around, wild card series. It's going to be Musgrove, and it's going to be Darvish, and it's going to be King, it's going to be Cease. Those 4 guys will probably be on the wild card roster. 3 will start those games, and another will be in the bullpen. And then if they get through in 2 games or 3, then someone else will start game 1. You'll worry about that when you get there. Just like in 22, you'll worry about it when you get there. I think they had Clevenger, right? Start game 1 in LA. You'll worry about it when you get there. But yeah, it's welcoming. I've missed watching Darvish pitch. I know how much he cares, and because he could just retire. This guy, he's set for life. He's got so much money. He has a bunch of accomplishments, but he wants to go win a World Series for San Diego. He wants to go win. So I respect that. And there was a great piece by Dennis Lynn in The Athletic talking with Hughes' agent, Joel Wolf. And Joel was praising AJ Preller about how AJ dealt with this. He didn't press Darvish on like, hey, are you good? Ready to come back? That's not what it was. It was checking in with Darvish like once a week. Really like caring about you, the person, and his situation. And respecting that. Schilt obviously respected that like to the max with his comments to the media. Didn't want to say really anything on it except just wishing you the best. So the Padres, they handled this great. Preller offered Darvish to go on the 60-day IL, and he would have still been able to make his money. But Darvish said no. Didn't think that was the right thing to do. So I respect all parties on what the heck happened there in that situation. And it sucks that situation happened, but AJ, great human being is what it seems like. And Darvish, another one, great human being. And I will always remember Darvish the day that Peter passed away. Darvish and I think his wife, they were on the Petco Park steps putting flowers down right in front of Peter there, right in front of that picture. So Musgrove family came later that night. I saw that when I went later that night. So that's something I'm never going to forget. And yeah, I'm just happy that Darvish is back. That's really what that is. And then the Tatis update really is like he continues to progress. He was sprinting at 70% the other day. He was taking batting practice on the field. And he is very confident that he's going to play in September. That's really the update the latest that at least that I've seen on Fernando. So a lot of things are swinging in the right direction. Friday was one great day for Padres fans because you had the Darvish and Tatis news, and you had the great Musgrove outing, the great Padres win. So that was great. And then to cap it off this series with the Profar homer and the Merrill walk off, it's great. All right, Carter, what's up, man? How's it going?
Hey, I'm doing good. How was the game yesterday? Not yesterday, I'm sorry. Today.
Yeah, yesterday wasn't that great, but yeah, today the ending was great. It sucked watching Quintana, pitch like Kershaw in his prime or whatever, but what matters is the ending, and the ending was another memorable one.
I I'm really sad I missed the walk off today. I was working today and I'm super bummed that I missed that home run. I was so bummed. But watched the replay of it and dude, I got chills. Like I freaking love Jackson Merrill. He is something else. Like he is a different breed. He reminds me of this may sound stupid, but he reminds me of Tatis in 2021 when he started to pop off, like started hitting homers nonstop. But
Mm.
I think now I'm gonna buy a Jackson Merrill jersey because dude is literally the GOAT. So that's all I wanted to say on here. I know you're probably in a rush to finish up, but that's all I wanted to say.
No, thanks, Carter. I appreciate it. Yeah, I totally agree with you. Have a good one, man.
Hey, you too. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good. I mean, Jackson Merrill has quickly become a fan favorite in San Diego. Is there someone out there that doesn't like Jackson Merrill? Because if you don't like Jackson Merrill, you're probably a Dodger fan or you're a Pirates fan that is seeing that Merrill's going to go win the Rookie of the Year over your guy. Um, yeah, you're a Mets fan today. um, this guy, Padres fans, there's no one that can say, yeah, not a Merrill fan. This guy cares so much about. That's all he cares about right now is winning games. He cared about winning spring training games, creating good habits in spring training. When he had a good day, well, they lost that game to the Cubs. So was it really that great? Um, the what was it? He went like I think it was earlier this year against the Giants. He made some history or had like a 4 for 4, something crazy. And he was like, "We didn't win." So I'm not quoting him, but that's pretty much what it is. That's who he is. Um, and man, Merrill in the postseason, get your popcorn ready. That is going to be amazing. Speaking of Merrill, I actually have my Jackson Merrill shirt on from Breaking Tea. Just showed it to the YouTube audience, by the way. You can click the link in the description for Breaking Tea. They got you with Padres and Aztec shirts and sweatshirts. By the way, the Aztec football season gets underway coming up next weekend, Saturday, Texas A&M Commerce. Hopefully they get a nice win there to start off their season in the Sean Lewis era, start off that Sean Lewis, Danny O'Neill era off the right way. Got the Wave coming up on Sunday, the day after that, with Trinity Rodman and the Washington Spirit in town. Obviously, the Padres, they'll be, I think, in Tampa. So it should be a fun sports weekend next weekend. But yeah, Breaking Tea, go check them out. They've got Merrill Madness shirts. They've got other Merrill shirts, like the one I have on today. They have Profar. They have They've got a lot of shirts there. So go check them out. Gaglione Bros, best cheesesteaks, garlic fries in San Diego. Click that link in the description there for the menu, the phone number, address, all that stuff. Main location is on Friars Road. They're in Petco Park. Yeah, cheese fries, garlic fries, cheesesteak fries, cheesesteaks, great stuff there. So check them out. And Underdog Fantasy, when you click that link in the description, use code Talking Friars, you will get a free pick. You'll claim a free special pick, and then you will get a 50% deposit match up to $1,000. It used to be $250. It is now $1,000. So please use that to your advantage. They've got Padres picks, MLB picks, college football when that gets underway, NFL, NBA, WNBA. WNBA, man, that is fun to watch this season. I was watching it before all this more and more hype came this year, but it's been fun to watch with some San Diegans balling out. So they've got it all there. And then SeatGeek code Talking Friars, $20 off your first order there with SeatGeek. All right, My laptop is on low, so I'm going to get through the chat here, and I'll just be kind of skimming through the chat here. David says, we back up, LFGSD. Rate Perez's start out of 10. I mean, probably like a 5. I mean, I can't go better than a 5 because he didn't go long. But, Hoeing, what a freaking job he did. Coming in with bases loaded and he gets out of it with a strikeout. That was one of those strikeouts where I stood up from my seat and clapped. Like it wasn't just a regular strikeout there. And then the next inning, right? He had a couple of runners on, got out of that. So he has been fantastic. He is not going to be talked about enough nationally, obviously, and I understand it. But man, he has been good. Jackson says, "What the hell is a Paul Skeens?" John says, "Old man Profar and then the kid." Yeah, Skeens. Jackson says Skeens is on an innings restriction now. His season is coming to an end. Yeah, Merrill's gonna win. Again, the race is over. As I said at the beginning, there's no race. Yeah, there's no race. I don't want to go as far to say it's Sidney McLaughlin in the 400-meter hurdles, but that's how I feel as a Padres fan. I know I'm biased, but all right, maybe like Gabby Thomas in the 200. Like Gabby still blew it out, but it wasn't as much of a joke as or as laughable of a dominant performance as Sidney. I'll say it that way. For those that were watching the Olympics, you would understand what I'm saying there. It is not Noah Lyles in the 100. I'll say that. Let's see here. Pods Nation says Merrill Madness is right. Jim says give Jackson Tatis's contract. Well, they can't do that literally. But yeah, pay him that much money. The Padres, I don't think they're. Maybe they would. When did the Mariners pay Julio? Because the Julio Rodriguez contract. Remember, he had the Rookie of the Year and all that. Julio, when was that contract done? $12 years, almost $210 million on that contract. I think Merrill would be making more than that. I think he would. Although Julio with the Mariners, there was something else. It's different there. Like with the Padres, there's still Tatis already locked up, Xander, Manny. But with the Mariners, there was no one locked up long term as like the star face of the franchise. He's one of them. He will be one of them, and is already. But Julio was like the guy there. He was like the Tatis, where it was like Tatis, yeah, you got to lock him up. There's other guys there with the Padres, but no, the Padres will get this done. It will be really bad if they do not get this done, but I'm not going to be mad if they don't get it done, this off season. If they want a couple more years before they do it just to make sure, okay. But I mean, everything that they're seeing this year, it probably has to be even more encouraging to be like, yeah, let's just get this done. So we're paying him 300, not 400. I don't know. But yeah, they got to get it done. Buster says, keep winning. Don't worry about anyone else. I agree with that. Oh, okay. Carpenter is in St. Louis. Matt Carpenter. I was wondering. I thought he was. Someone says here, Merrill stole Tatis's powers like in Space Jam. No, Tatis still got powers, but Merrill's the one that's healthy, and Tatis just hasn't been able to stay healthy consistently enough. And then he's run into his own issues as well. But Merrill, he's been healthy. So I'll say this, and maybe some of you agree with this. But this season that Merrill was having is the season we were hoping Tatis was going to have if he didn't hurt his hamstring in DC in his rookie year. You know, when he was at short and he was trying to reach like a first baseman for that ball. If he wouldn't have got, and he had back issues, I think, at the end too. This is the season we were hoping that Tatis was going to have, but Merrill is having it right now. And it's at a great time. 2019, the Padres were not ready to go win. This year, they could go win. All right. That's going to do it. Talking Friars episode 200. It's 200 plus like 428. 628 of the Talking Friars podcast and YouTube show. Have a great rest of your night, everybody. The Padres take 2 out of 4. They split with the Mets. And on to St. Louis. Mike Shildt should be an interesting one. Mike Shildt back in St. Louis at Busch Stadium with the organization that he grew up with for a long time, then managed to the postseason. He will probably get a great positive reception from Cardinals fans. We'll see. Should be an interesting one coming up in this road trip.